So it's time for the 2017 Ward's 10 Best Interiors. We are testing through the end of March. In the meantime, we're going to try to do these roundtables every 2 or 3 weeks along the way. So we're going to jump right into it. We've only had 5 vehicles in so far, but we're going to talk about these 5, and then we'll talk about more in a couple of weeks. So Dave, what did you think about our first batch of vehicles? Did you find a favorite in there?
Well, I was pretty impressed, I think, with the Mazda CX-9 and the Buick Envision. I think both of those are really great CUV interiors. They do a great job of blending a mix of materials. The content is there in both of those cars, and I think, you know, it's easy to drive. The positions of how you access stuff is great.
CX-9 came in at around $45,000, and Buick Envision was $49,320, pretty competitively priced. CX-9 has 3 rows. The Envision is just the 2-row, correct?
Right, and you know, I mean, the reality is that third row is not that usable in any of these vehicles.
But I found in the CX-9, because they're only fitting 2 seats back there, that it was fairly comfortable. I mean, I wouldn't want to ride back there for a long trip, but you know, getting back there wasn't too bad. I had decent headroom, and I like the idea that they only want to try to fit 2 seats back there instead of wedging in a third seat, you know, for 8 passenger seats.
Yeah, it's a plus. You still don't have a lot of leg room though, if you're back there. So it's a small child seat at best, I think.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then Christie, I think you were interested, or you were impressed by the color scheme of this. They call this auburn, so it's kind of a butterscotch trim color that contrasts nicely with the black and all the metallic bits.
Yeah, which is funny because to me in that photo it looks more like a wine or a burgundy leather, and I've noticed in certain lighting it does look more brown than red, so right. It's a bit of a chameleon, the color inside, but I love it. I'm glad they have it. I think it's great to see more color in interiors, and we're seeing even the Corolla we had blue piping on the seats, so right. that's a real step forward for them.
Yeah, Dave, what do you think about the piano black? We see we also have the Honda Ridgeline in right now. That has some piano black in the interior, and then here, of course, in the center console of the CX-9 also. I'm
a fan of real judicious use of piano black, so I think there's some cars that overdo it a little bit. I think the CX-9 kind of strikes the right balance for me. Others tend to spray it around a little bit too much, I think, and it kind of loses that accent ability.
Very curious to me was in the Envision how they had that faux wood glossy trim, except to the left of the touch screen, it was piano black, and that was like the only piano black in the vehicle.
Really?
To the left of the touch screen. So it looked a bit unbalanced to me, and I'm not sure what the reason was for it.
Well, I'll call up some photos for that in a second, but this is on the CX-9, this wood trim. When Mazda launched the CX-9, they were really proud that for once, never before, they had authentic wood in an interior and also real aluminum in the interior. I didn't realize it took so long for Mazda to get authentic materials in there, but they really do make a difference.
That's authentic wood?
That is real wood, yeah.
Really?
It looks and feels like hard plastic, but
it does.
It's the real McCoy.
Okay.
It's the real McCoy.
Okay.
And I think, you know, that was part of what impressed me with that car was they had that blend of materials. They had the aluminum, they had the wood, they had it's a lot of different colors and materials going on, but they worked it in the right balance. I think it looks pretty good.
Right. Now, Christy, you mentioned the Toyota Corolla. Black interior with blue piping, bright blue piping on the seats, and then also on the door trim there was a nice, it's not a light bar, but it's like almost a
light pipe,
kind of a bright plastic,
yeah.
It's visible in daylight. Very nice looking, interesting color scheme. Can you speak to that?
It's pretty jazzy. It's you know, I think Toyota's sticking their neck out there a little bit and trying to be a little more fashion forward. The Camry, which we'll be testing next year, has a red interior option, which is like really aggressive for them to.
What kind of red?
It's pretty red. It's I think closer to that car than the red we saw. That might not actually be red in the CX-9.
No
but
kidding.
I like this. I mean, it's largely black, but this is subtle. You know, I like the touch of blue, and it is a brighter blue, so it's
It is.
It's easier to see than.
The light pipe there. I
Maybe
noticed
turquoise.
also that they redid the HVAC controls. The button can be flipped up or down either way. It's just, ergonomically, you rest your hand on the shifter, and then you can toggle your switch for fan or your climate control or the temperature selection.
It's a little tab.
It's like a tab.
Yeah.
And it worked. It was a nice update. I thought it worked really well.
Yeah, I'm still not a big fan of the screen, the touch screen. I think the virtual buttons are too close to each other, and you're also selecting accidentally sometimes with your knuckle if you're touching the volume knob. But
And they have a lot of stuff that's kind of crammed in a small space.
they
I
do.
find, yeah.
They could use a little more white space around their touchscreen controls. But yeah, that's a great picture.
Yeah, and how about the black plastic on the doors? I was disappointed with a lot of hard black plastic. Didn't feel real premium. The only soft surface on the whole door trim was that little section of armrest for your elbow. Beyond that, it was hard plastic, and it probably doesn't matter because they're going to sell a ton of these cars anyway, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a price sensitive class, but for its price, it's not a badly done interior.
And this one came in at 24, 25.
Which is a bargain in today's market.
Exactly.
Yeah.
24,831. Pretty good deal.
Should we talk about the Ridgeline?
The Black Edition
Yes.
Ridgeline. It won a Wards 10 Best UX back in the fall, and yeah, that interior has a lot of new connectivity and other HMI features that we had not seen in Hondas before, and we'll see even more now in the new Odyssey when that launches. Right?
We will. They've totally rethought that. Due to menu confusion and menu structure confusion, which we told them about in years past, and they've finally made steps to resolve that. But our colleague James Amon had a good observation about this interior, which is at night you can't see anything because
It's too black.
So black. And the seat belt receptacles recoil into the rear seat, right? He was saying for the kids to buckle themselves in was nearly impossible.
So they're like spring loaded, so that when you're in the back seat, the buckle actually loads back into the seat, so you got to go dig it out.
Right.
Can be annoying. But in this Black Edition, you can see slightly on the seats this hint of red, and we're not sure if that's red leather surface or if it's a black surface perforated with red underneath. But it's kind of a nice effect, but very subtle. It's the only splash of color in the interior beyond the black and the piano black on the instrument panel. Dave?
What about the Encore?
Encore. The Encore is the, let's see, $36,175. This is the equivalent, or the Buick equivalent of the Chevy Trax. And I kind of liked it. It was, it reminded me a bit of the colors that we saw in the CX-9, that kind of butterscotch caramel type treatment. I thought that the back seat was kind of crowded, not a lot of room, and to fold the second row seats was fairly awkward. You have to release the seat bottom, fold it down, and then put the seat back down. Well, the seat back, if you happen to have your head restraints up, they're massive.
They weigh a ton.
They're a waterfall thing. So you got to make sure the head restraint is down before you go to fold the seat. And there's a good chance that the passenger seat or the front driver's seat will be too far back for the seats to fold flat. So that's they're definitely package constrained, I think, in the Encore.
Yeah, I find some hatchback cars have more functionality than some of these really small CUVs, which this is one of.
Yeah.
You get a lot for $36,000, although you don't get a power seat back adjust. I just spent the weekend in this vehicle, and that's the one thing that annoyed me the most is the lever. It's quite small, and it's also right up against the housing for the seat belt, where the seat belt comes out of the floor.
Yep.
And so there's like no room to maneuver in there. So that was my one real complaint about it.
But you did get a heated steering wheel in the Encore, and you did not get a heated steering wheel in the CX-9.
That's very
Much
true.
more expensive vehicle.
Very true.
The Encore is lacking a middle head restraint in the second row. That's one of our pet peeves. If you have seat belts for 3 people in back, you should have head restraints for all 3 people.
Also curious to me about this vehicle is if you notice the back of the driver's seat was leather, the back of the front passenger seat was plastic.
It was. I took pictures of that. Yeah, you've got the scalloped area for your legs on the passenger side, but on the driver's side, it was like two totally different seats. Very interesting.
It makes me wonder, did they make a mistake in manufacturing did they grab the wrong seat? And I also noticed that the steering wheel is the same as in my Volt. So yes,
okay.
They're saving a bit of money there.
That's smart part sharing. So the Envision comes from China.
It does.
Any issues? You think it's going to be a drawback to have a Chinese-built vehicle sold in America? Most people won't know.
Most people won't know,
Or care.
and this one is pretty flawless. It's my first Chinese vehicle I've driven, and I couldn't find many issues with it. Could you, Dave?
No, I thought it was
finish?
pretty impressive. You know, I mean, if you want to pick apart the King's joint a little bit, there was a little bit uneven, but we see that in a lot of cars, and overall, I thought the quality was excellent.
Me too.
We're going to wrap up now, and we will come back in a few more weeks and tell you more about the rest of the testing for the 2017 Wards 10 Best Interiors. Thanks.